our problems. I don't believe the problems of deepfakes are insoluble. Far from it. I believe that it's well within the capacity of our civilization to absorb it. We've undergone changes far greater than this before. And when we do finally come to grips with deepfakes, we'll have a whole new world of creativity to look forward to. Thank you.
Awesome, Joseph. Awesome. Listen, we just want to know, what is the next big project that you are working on?
Not sure I can say, actually, but
that scares me even more, I'm just saying.
There's a documentary that will be streaming on Hulu in November. Apparently November 10th is the release date that you can watch if you want to find out more about the work that my company has done. It'll be on the Weekly, which is a program produced by the New York Times.
Cool, very cool. Yeah. Once again,
thank you.
Make some noise for Joseph Palermo, please, guys. And now we are back to our final short film of the day. Mark Klassen and Boaz Beery and his team at Sandbox have introduced you to 5 fascinating Torontonians and have one more short film for you to pull all their stories together. Let's check it out.
I just feel like always having that emerging mentality makes you hungry and hungry to be different. I feel so Toronto. Toronto's built my career and my passions. I've found love here. We're champions. We are legit champions now. We finally set the foundation and now we can all start branching out. There was a frequency in the city that I hope can live on.
They've been here for so long, watching the city grow and what it's developed into now, being a part of it. It's a good feeling.
Every time I see that CN Tower, there's just love in my heart that this is home, honestly. But also, everything's very precarious right now. And that has to stop.
Our neighborhoods still lack support. Our neighborhoods still lack resources. I wish we were more responsive than reactive. I wish we were more proactive. What is 2025 gonna look like? What is 2030 gonna look like? And are we really doing our best to get to that? I don't think we are.
We all want a better life for our family. We all want a secure and safer place. We all want to progress in our life. We all want to do good. Everyone needs to have a seat on the table. And I think Toronto's doing a great job. We can do much more.
It's also about finding your community. There's just a lot more power and knowledge when you can share it with other people. There's very little power in isolation, and often marginalized and underrepresented folks feel isolated. But at the same time, all of these people, for some reason, decided to make Toronto their home. And I think that's amazing.
those visuals were super, super incredible. So once again, thank you to Mark Klassen, thank you to Boaz Beery and his team at Sandbox Films. Guys, everybody in here, we have made it to our last speaker of the day. Now, I had a great time getting to know all of the speakers, but I will just tell you, I had the most fun on the phone with our final speaker. She is amazing, she is awesome, and you guys are gonna have such a good time. Shireen Ahmad is an award-winning sports activist, athlete, and community organizer. Shireen is on the advisory board of the Football Against Racism in Europe Fair and helps refugees use football as a vehicle for resettlement. Listen, she may be the only other person in here whose kicks are fresher than mine. I want you guys to make some noise, please, for our last speaker of the day, Shireen Ahmed.
The first time I ever stepped onto a soccer field is something I will never forget. Picture this: Halifax, 1982. I'm a boisterous 5-year-old in a polyester red and yellow striped kit with 2 long black thick braids, and I'm the only little brown girl. I'm standing at the sidelines impatiently because the coach was giving instructions, but I just wanted to run onto the field and take the ball. The grass was freshly cut, and as I stood there, I remember thinking, this is what heaven smells like. I ran onto the field and took the ball with 10 other little kids, not really knowing how to maneuver, but feeling like I belonged there. And outside of my family, there weren't a lot of places that I felt as if I belonged. But here, on the field, the ball didn't discriminate. Soccer gave me an opportunity to be part of a team. I was not very popular in grade school, and despite my tenacity and eager skills during play, I was never picked to be on a team during gym class. And I think this is something a lot of people can relate to, being an outsider. But my heart and my head and my parents kept telling me to stick with it, and there was a place for me, even if I had to carve it out myself. Fast forward to 2019. While I'm still carving out various spaces in my life, sports mean a lot to me. I still play, and although I'm the only brown woman on my team, I can't live without it. And now, sports are not just something I play. I've fallen in love with the way they can be woven into storytelling. I've spent the last 8 years as a sports journalist, advocating for the equality of women, countering gendered Islamophobia, and combating misogyny. I'm often called upon to provide opinions on race and culture in sport through sports stories. You see, sports stories are not just game reports and statistical analysis. They are stories about people, their struggles, their glory, and how they use sport to express themselves. And the stories within sport can hold impactful messages of resilience, glory, and justice. It's really important to understand that the traditional sports system, is predominantly white, able-bodied, cishet men. And sometimes the stories that are reported often lack nuance and underrepresent people like me. And stories of sport, you can go anywhere in the world and find out more about a society based on watching a game or attending a match. And often regions' values are reflected in their sports. And at the core of this is the power of sport to be a vehicle of change and a tool of empowerment. But who tells these stories? Do they reflect the players on the field, the fans in the stadium, and the communities they're intended to unite? Or do we see these stories from a singular lens? When we look at sports media, do we see and hear the voices of our communities? Sports media is saturated with white men, but as the industry grows, people of color, and moreover women of color, need to have opportunities to shine and shed light on stories that we know the public wants to hear. Stories that were underplayed and untouched. The lived experience of a person is very, very, very valuable. You can have a dozen degrees in journalism or 100 accreditations, but if you haven't actually lived through the experience that some players of color feel, like racial bias, you can fall short of doing justice to these stories. Keeping in mind, people of color should not only comment on race and culture in sport, we should be everywhere in sport media, writing, editing, presenting, production, decision-making. And currently, we are not. This is the main reason that I, a mom of 4, and visible Muslim woman, decided to get into this field. Because I was frustrated with the ways that the stories were being told. Now, is it really a problem if we see these stories from one singular lens? I mean, what's the big deal? Last year, a black high school varsity wrestler from New Jersey named Andrew Johnson had to choose between representing his school or be ejected from competition. The reason? He had dreadlocks. In order to compete, Andrew was expected to shed a part of his identity because it was considered unnatural by the white referee. He was not permitted to wear a cap, although that had been done in competition before by others with long hair. Andrew made a really difficult decision that day, and a video of his dreadlocks being chopped off went viral. Local news reports celebrated this and characterized it and him as the epitome of a team player. But when I saw Andrew standing in the middle of that gym at 16, looking numb, being inundated with high fives from his teammates, I felt ill. And I was bitterly disappointed with the way that that story was celebrated and reported. This is not a celebration. But sports media, with their predominantly single lens, didn't explore Andrew's experience, and they couldn't empathize with what he had endured. And sometimes the singular lens means there are important stories that we don't even get to hear. A few years ago, I came across some information that stays with me to this day, that women in Iran are not permitted into stadiums to watch sport. This boggled my mind because Iran actually has a very rich history of supporting women's teams and programs. But this form of gender segregation began at the 1979 revolution and has persisted ever since. With the mission to lend my voice in order to help, I started to write about it. And I got connected to an organization called Open Stadiums, which is a movement of Iranian women seeking to end discrimination and enable women to enter stadiums. This group has been lobbying major sports federations for over 15 years to push Iran to change this. But despite their efforts, little has changed. As a result, it means that women and young girls will dress up as men to sneak into stadiums. Perhaps it's an act of love. Perhaps it's an act of defiance and resistance. But whatever the case, these women risk their lives every time they try to enter a stadium. This has been documented by Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch on multiple occasions. Last spring, one of these women Seher Khodayari, known as Blue Girl in the media, was arrested and faced up to 6 months to 2 years for attempting to enter a stadium dressed as a man. This September, before her trial could begin, Seher stood in front of the courthouse and she set herself on fire. She died 6 days later. To say that this is heartbreaking is an understatement. Must women lose their lives because of their conviction and their love of sport? While this story is complex, it's not only about the tragic loss of her life. This is about a place that bars women from sport, and it is about international governing bodies headed by men who were complicit in the system of exclusion. Make no mistake, sports are inherently political and have always been. Writing about Muslim women in sport, and even what's happening with Iranian women, takes time, understanding of geopolitical and social challenges. And most importantly, it requires the respect of the people who are in the story. Not enough sports journalists get an opportunity to do this. Here, on the other side of the world, things are not as grave, but they're no less important. But we're making progress, right? A few months ago, during the FIFA 2019 Women's World Cup, a Canadian broadcaster had a panel put together of experts. 3 of those experts were former national and professional players. The entire panel was women. And like their men counterparts before them, they offered brilliant commentary, match recaps, statistical analysis, but they also spoke about the challenge in facing women in the beautiful game. They talked about the right for equal pay, sexism, homophobia, and the need for domestic women's leagues in order to develop and grow attention to the game. A columnist labeled this as revolutionary. Okay, revolutionary. This is not a revolution, but it should be our game plan. So, what are we going to do about it? First of all, you can be involved. Share your thoughts. You don't have to be an athlete or journalist. Social media has changed the sports industry in ways we never could have imagined. Previously, the sports spectators and fans used to be on the receiving end. Now, you can share your content, you can amplify it. And this is very important. When I first started my career in sports journalism, I started with a Tumblr blog, and now I have over 100 bylines in notable publications. But we need more. Secondly, diversify your sports media intake. Get your information from people that you might not consider to be sports journalists. Let me use a sports analogy. To only have goalkeepers on a soccer team is not going to be as effective as having defenders, midfielders, and forwards. We need people from all racial backgrounds and gender identities to help sports media grow into something that truly reflects the population. This is key. So, if you don't know where to start, let me tell you. Try the podcast, the sports podcast that I co-created. Me and my co-hosts, Dr. Amir Rose Davis, Jessica Luther, Lindsay Gibbs, and Dr. Brenda Elsey. We talk sports. We critique, we opine, we laugh, and we challenge the status quo. Getting your information and content from places that might not be considered sports journalism actually will draw attention to the stories that were considered unwelcome. Now they will be heard. And this attention one day might lead to women sitting in stadiums in Iran for good. It might mean that women will be paid what they deserve. It might mean that racism in sports no longer festers, and kids like Andrew can proudly compete. We need to deconstruct the current sports media systems, shake it up, take it apart, put it back together with a solid foundation, and one that is more inclusive. We need all kinds of sports stories, stories that feed our soul with a smorgasbord of topics ranging from local to global. Stories that engage us, enlighten us, and connect us with other people. And we need storytellers, sports media, to reflect who we are in the population. So let's start now. So even if, and especially if, you were once on the sidelines like me, and even if you've never been picked for a team in your entire life, join my team. You do not have to wear polyester, but let's change the story.
That was amazing, and the best person we could have chose to be our last speaker
Thank
today.
you.
One quick question. What has been your best part of the TEDx Toronto journey?
Meeting all the people involved in this process. I didn't know how many people, how many volunteers. They say it takes a village. This was like a continent. It was amazing. Shout out to Marinella, my coach, who was incredibly patient and understanding. And I'm gonna flex meeting you.
Thank you so much. Once again for Shireen, please, guys. Woo. Man, that was incredible. So, two things. My cue cards are calling for me to reflect on the day. Today has been an incredible roller coaster ride, but I'm going to read something from my favorite, Prime Minister Trudeau. It is not the Trudeau that you're thinking of, though. He says, "Uniformity is neither desirable nor possible in a country the size of Canada. We should not even be able to agree upon the kind of Canadian to choose as a model, let alone persuade most people to emulate it. There are few policies potentially more disastrous for Canada than to tell all Canadians that they must be alike. There is no such thing as a model or ideal Canadian. What could be more absurd than the concept of an all-Canadian boy or girl? A society which emphasizes uniformity is one which creates intolerance and hate. A society which eulogizes the average citizen is one which breeds mediocrity. What the world should be seeking and what in Canada we must continue to cherish are not concepts of uniformity, but human values, compassion, love, and understanding." That was by the late, great Canadian Prime Minister Pierre Elliott Trudeau. So, two things about that. One is, I'll be completely honest, my family and a lot of families that I know actually came to this country because of those ideals that Trudeau had and that he spread around the world during his time as Prime Minister. The interesting thing is the reality of the world that we live in is, even though we have a man that amazing and somebody that I've always spoken of fondly, it is incredibly easy to, by accident or whatever, be insensitive rather to the people around you. I've met Justin on many different occasions, and I thought that he was an amazing guy. And when that whole incident of, well, several incidents of him being in blackface came out, I was instantly angered and I was enraged, and I was like, how could, you're the son of Pierre Trudeau. But that just goes to show you that no matter who we are all capable of having missteps. And I'm not saying that that was a misstep, but what I'm saying is that we are all capable of being insensitive. We are all capable of making mistakes. I'm sure every one of us in this room, including myself, has made a mistake at some point in time. I think what I've learned about today is that we have to learn from one another. We have to learn. There are black people in the audience, white people in the audience, there are Asian, South Asian, and everything in between. The one beautiful thing that I really love about Canada, and the reason why I never moved away permanently, was because I draw from each and every one of your experiences, and it actually comes together to create who I am standing before you today. Every last one of you, and I think that's what TEDx Toronto is all about, and this is why the theme is Rise, because we have to rise above all of the negativity that is out there. And even with the rise of technology and the rise of some things that create fear within us, we have to be able to persevere. And the only way that we can do that is by coming together. So that is my thoughts about today. That is my reflections about today. And I would be remiss if I didn't take 20 seconds backstage to write a rap for you. Everybody's like, you're a rapper. I haven't heard a rap all day. No, I did this. I literally was like, yo, you have 30 seconds left, write something. I was like, all right, let me figure it out. TEDx Toronto, we've been going full throttle all day. Shout out to everyone who didn't kick a bottle. My couple friends from Brampton and Mississauga, I appreciate you not making a sound with your agua. From shadism to deep fakes and nuit blanche, there isn't anything that rhymes with nuit blanche. Social justice, tech, and architecture, we realize the interconnectedness in our sector. No matter what, we have to rise to the occasion. I am finished, but I'll be okay with a standing ovation. Oh, man. Yes. Oh, man. You guys made my job super easy today. You guys were so amazing. Like, literally, like, from the top of today to the end right now, like, you guys have been a fun crowd. I thank you guys for going along with everything. I thank you guys for being so cool to each other. I'm sure you guys made new friends today. Thank you for all the high fives and all of that good stuff. Now listen, there's a couple more thank yous, and then I am absolutely out of your hair, and we can go celebrate in our little after party. Now, a big thank you to the Landing Group is at a big thank you to the Landing Group, end of sentence. The Landing Group is at the leading edge of restaurant concepts across Canada. And we can't wait to taste what they have in store for us this evening. We're really excited about introducing the Landing Group, our official hospitality partner for this evening's after party. Yes, you know the Landing Group from their awesome restaurants like Williams Landing in Liberty Village and Kelly's Landing downtown. Now, the culinary team led by Kelly's Landing executive chef Tristan D'Souza is excited to present premium and appetizing bites to elevate TEDx Toronto's cocktail hour and after-party experience. A special thank you to Mallory Dayat and the entire team in delivering deliciousness to our event. So make some noise for them. I must say, a little bit of favoritism. This might be my favorite thank yous. A big thank you to our hospitality partners, Bo's Brewing, Collective Arts, Tito's Vodka, Tableau Water, Select Wine, and Rise Kombucha. Also, massive shout out to our live viewing communities for showing up and participating virtually today. Live stream, what up? And now, I would like to welcome to the stage my good friend. If you wanted to know who was the person that was feeding me all this information for the past couple of months, somebody who never let up, and anytime I had half an hour to myself, made sure that 29 minutes of that went to him and to Naki. I would like to welcome to the stage my good friend Camille, Jillian Cameron, and Jeff Lones, the co-chairs of TEDx Toronto, who led the team of 60 volunteers who made today happen. Make some noise for them, please.
Do I got a mic? Can you hear? There we go. Let's hear it for Cardi. Thank you so much. So, and thank you so much for stepping up to host. When TEDx Toronto calls to invite you to host, it's not like, will you do it and we'll see you next Saturday. It's like, will you do it and give 50 hours of phone time and interview every speaker and 450 emails, 440 of which come from Camille. So, and he, now we're smart, we don't say that all up front. We got him to say yes, then told him all that. But he stepped up and he cared so much about every speaker and cared so much about kind of elevating the messages, and we saw that today. So thank you so much. And beyond that, thank you for what you do for the city of Toronto and our country as well. Just, you know, what you've done for music, for people, for culture here, and as you've, let's use the word, as you've risen up constantly over your career, you've always brought people along with you, and that is very, very admirable, so thank you. All right. We will make this swift. We've got some good food and a lot of drinks out there, so we will make this swift. But my name is Jeff Lones. This is?
I'm Jillian Cameron.
And I'm Camille.
And we, of course, were the co-chairs this year, representing a lot of folks who brought this event together for its 11th year in Toronto, TEDx Toronto. So thank you for being here, and we'll talk more about that. But one last thank you from the organizing team to the partners who stepped up to make this event possible. This is just the beginning, though. It is about where these talks go from here, and we appreciate everyone that comes together and the partners that came together to put these ideas out there, and now it's about us taking action on them and us spreading them from here. So big thanks again to the partners.
I want to say a big thank you to our short film producers, our performers, and a huge thank you to our speakers. You know, we do this all for you and your ideas. Thank you for going on a 4-month journey with TEDx Toronto to discover your message, tell your story, and for trusting us with your deepest stories and pushing through discomfort to shape your talks for the stage. We hope that as a result of this experience, your ideas will spark a little brighter and spread a little farther. And we are so grateful for the trust that you've given us today.
And we'd like to say a huge thank you to the audience, all of you. It's not easy coming on stage in front of 1,000 people and delivering your message, and you made that much easier by giving our speakers a warm and welcome. So much time and love goes into putting on this event today, and we are really grateful to each and every one of you for choosing to spend your time with us today. We have come here together today to share our stories, dreams, and ideas with each other, to challenge the status quo, and to seek a deeper understanding of the world. However, today is only the beginning. The talks you heard today start here. It's you who will take them further into your neighborhoods and your communities and add a deeper understanding and meaning to each of them. And secondly, we'd like to do a huge thank you to our team of volunteers. As you've heard over the course of the day today, TEDx Toronto is 100% volunteer run. We've got a core team of 16 people, an organizing team of 60 people, and a volunteer group today who's helping out with the event of 80 people. Each and every one of these people has joined because they believe in the power of ideas to change lives, attitudes, and ultimately the world. And so with that, we'd like to introduce our core team to you. Starting off with Amit Shah, our Director of Partnerships.
Next, we have Karun Malik, our Director of Finance and Operations.
Danielle Castellino, our Director of PR.
Naki Osute, our Director of Coaching and Curation.
Marinella Roque on our Coaching and Curation team.
Patty Chang, our Advisor.
Marcus Huynh, our Director of Community Outreach.
John Intini, our Director of Marketing.
Paral Patel, our Project Manager.
Ashley Mackenzie Barnes, our Creative Director.
Lucia Davenport, our Broadcast Producer.
Heine Nielsen, our Director of Delegate Experience.
Meg Murray, our Logistics Director, Back of House.
Emily Van Dopp, our Logistics Director, Front of House. Thank you to our core organizing team. We could not have put on this event without you. Thank you for showing up and just being the most wonderful team to work with. Now, we'd also like to bring out our entire volunteer organizing team.
Please come on out.
All right. Thank you. It's a big team, like we said, so appreciate the clapping. This is just the first half of the group as well. All right, so thank you again to the audience for all of your incredible support today, your kindness. We're going to take some photos up here and so on, but again, we hope you've learned some new things, gotten inspired by some ideas, met a new friend, and let's celebrate with a little after party. Go on out and enjoy the night. Thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Welcome back to the red carpet, live here at TEDx Toronto. If you have any questions for the speakers, drop them in the comment box below. We'd love to hear from you. One last adventure to share with you from our Open Street Festival activation on Bloor this summer. Check it out.
Welcome to TEDx Toronto here at Open Streets. My name is Marcus. I'm the Director of Community here. And today we're at Open Streets Festival celebrating the theme Rise for TEDx Toronto. We've got an incredible yoga session that we just had and Big Smoke Brass Band who will be delivering an incredible performance, one of our alumni performers. We've got our Rise Wings and here to celebrate with the community.
And welcome back. Welcome back. I'm joined with Sage, who spoke on the stage not too long ago, and we're going to ask her some really great questions about what it's been like for her. Come on over. Hello. It's a pleasure. Thank you, my love. So, we've curated a couple of questions for you. We're going to keep it pretty easy because it's the end of the day, and I'm sure you're a little bit sleepy.
Big day.
Okay, so is being culturally sensitive simply not trendy enough for the fashion world? Is being culturally sensitive simply not enough or not trendy enough for the fashion world? That's an interesting question.
That is an interesting
Huh.
question.
Is
So
it simply
being
not enough
culturally sensitive, not trendy enough?
for the fashion world?
The way I see the fashion world is that we all play a role in it. And what the mainstream puts out for us and what those trends are created, we're the ones that are creating those trends. So if we find that like the industry is not culturally sensitive enough, it's because of our purchases and the decisions that we're making and what we're purchasing. So if we're going to buy from local designers who are like indigenous or whatever background, you know, they're Hungarian or Chinese, if we're supporting that, then we're supporting a diverse, culturally represented industry.
Yeah.
As opposed to what we see in the mainstream.
Totally.
Which is
That was a tough question. We came out hard at the beginning, guys.
I know.
Let's see if we can take it easy on stage. How can we combat slow down. How can we combat fast fashion, especially considering how many people seek them out for the price point?
Yeah, it's a hard one. We just simply have to change our practices. It's difficult because fast fashion is accessible, especially people who are not able to afford clothing that is locally made. And that's why I want to look at a local economy where we actually know our designers and we can trade things. It's such a weird way of looking at it, and it seems you're like, I don't know if I can do that. But if you have something to offer, that's like opportunity to look at a different way of purchasing. So just looking at the economy difference. How are we doing that? And fast fashion knows what its issues are, and there's a lot of companies that are doing various initiatives like the greenwashing. A lot of it is because they're just trying to appear as though they are environmentally friendly and taking on initiatives that are good for the environment, when in reality it's just marketing. But they know what's happening.
Right.
And if we don't act now, we're screwed, kind of. Humanity is screwed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So much change, which is what we're talking about today.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one last one.
All right.
Can fashion schools do a better job of educating people about different cultures to build better labels?
Yes, they can. And you know what? They are. So I'm teaching at George Brown College, and that I teach a contemporary Indigenous fashion course. But also at Ryerson University, they're doing a lot to bring in diverse representation in fashion. So not even just about cultural representation, but looking at like different body types, different body shapes, ableism, like what gender, how we represent ourselves in that way, and really giving this perspective and platform for all of these realities of all of our different identities to exist. So it's happening, but it does, like, it's not on a huge level where we're seeing it trickle into a mainstream industry just yet, but I think it's the next generation that will do that. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah, we just got to foster those young people
And people
say,
like
hey.
you who keep moving it forward.
Well, thank you for moving the dial forward,
Thank you
Sage.
so
It's been such a
much.
pleasure. Congratulations.
Have a good evening.
You too. See you on the dance floor. All right, next up we have Joseph. Oh, amazing. Hello, my friend.
Hi. It's really nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
So, how you feeling?
Feeling great.
Yeah?
Yeah, that was fun.
I know. I actually haven't been on the stage, so I don't know, but I imagine it was pretty cool.
Okay, so we've got some fun questions for you that
Okay.
have been curated by the crowd. What do you see deepfake accomplishing in the world? What do you see deepfake accomplishing in the world?
So, I mean, there's two sets of things. I mean, there are the things that will be harmful, like identity theft, fraud of different sorts, political manipulation, manipulating what's perceived as truth, and the other side of that is creative endeavors. So it will enable people to, as a single person, create all these synthetic people, and then do all sorts of creative things with that. So you can imagine that media companies of the future won't use actors anymore because they won't need them. That's a bad future for actors, unfortunately.
Oh my
but
God. I never thought about that.
Yeah. So I put it into those two broad camps.
Got it.
Yeah.
Huh. Hold on. Why won't we need actors anymore?
So
For the folks at home who didn't hear what you said, what you
Okay.
talked about.
Okay, so the idea is if you can create synthetic people, and you can make them say anything you want, and you make them look however you want, what need do you have for an actor? Because an actor is just if you're looking for an actor, you have to find someone who looks a certain way, and they have to have certain talents. But a synthetic person could be any way you want them to be, which is probably be great for creative people who want to make films.
Yes. This is mind-blowing stuff, though. This is next level.
Yeah.
All right. How can we prevent
the misuse of artificial intelligence?
So that's a difficult question.
There's a bracket in here.
Given people misuse social identities, etc.
This might have been a question
Given
from
that people misuse social identity.
Yeah. Identities,
So how can we prevent misuses? I think at a certain point we're going to need laws about what you can do with deepfakes. Like, it shouldn't be okay to just put out like very harmful, defamatory content and like have no repercussions at all. We may in the future construe deepfakes as a form of identity theft, and charge people who abuse it accordingly.
Yes.
Of course, there's a complication that if you create a deepfake, it's just a file on your computer, and then it'd be very easy to hide your identity and like do it anonymously, and so it's going to be very hard to control this. I would imagine in the future, online we'll have two different worlds. We'll have kind of like Wild West part of the internet where just crazy stuff is happening with deepfakes, and
Cowboys?
Then,
And Indians?
and then we'll have like vetted places where people know that they're like trusted parties who are ensuring that what you're seeing is real, and we'll actually probably need a greater reliance on institutions of truth, if you will.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Man, the stuff that you're talking about is like intellectually like mind-blowing.
Yeah,
Thank you so much, Joseph. This was such
Thank
a
you.
pleasure. You
Thank
did
you
a
so
great
much.
job today.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank you.
take care. See you at the party. All right, next up, we have Shireen.
Hello, Mama. It's so nice to see you again. Ah, nailed it. All right. So we're gonna let's be professional.
Let's be professional.
I know you just got off a stage.
Yeah.
And you're probably buzzing a little bit.
A little.
I mean, you and your daughter were backstage. We were chatting. So we're gonna keep it easy on you.
Okay.
Was it more or less nerve-wracking to be the last speaker of our lineup? Was it more or less nerve-wracking to be the last speaker of our lineup?
Well, I can't compare it to anything else, but I will say there was a heightened sense of, trepidation. But I really wanted to give my energy out to the other speakers and give them love and watch them, nail it. But I wasn't able to absorb all of this because I was trying to get in the mental zone of mine. So.
Good answer. It was both.
All right. Do you think soccer, a global sport, would be a better or easier medium to speak about equality? That's an interesting question. I'm going to read it again. Do you think soccer, a global sport, would be a better or easier medium to speak about equality?
Absolutely. I think that it already is a platform for which people communicate what they want, their needs, the issues. I absolutely will always believe that a wonderful platform for those kinds of things is soccer, 100%. It's the most played sport in the world. Yeah.
You played as a kid?
I play now.
Yeah.
I still play. I played as a kid. I play now. And it's a place where they can have discussions. You can go anywhere in the world and you can actually play football with somebody. I've played in Buenos Aires. I've played in Brazil. I've played in other places. Played in Jordan. You don't need to speak the language. Football is a language.
Yeah, it's a universal language.
Totally.
That's cool. Okay, last one. How can we find ways to overcome biases that find their way onto the field?
Interaction. Yeah. I think talking, education, unlearning the things that are harmful and toxic in society. We always talk about education, but we don't talk enough about unlearning the things that we need to unlearn. I mean, that's been a very important process for me.
Yes.
Unlearning things and growing.
Love that. Yeah, in my practice, I'm all about unprogramming and reprogramming people's brains. So I totally understand that.
Totally.
Shireen, it has been such a pleasure.
Thank you.
so much.
My goodness, you and your family are beautiful.
Thank you so
And I can't wait to see you again soon.
All right. Well, next up is the host of our show, Cardinal Offishall.
We've been playing back and forth all day and you didn't even know. Hi, love. So good. So nice to meet you.
Good to meet you too.
So when your album came out in 2001, I was 20, I think. I was in my second year of university.
Get out of here. Yeah, right.
I was in my second year of university, yeah.
Wait a minute. What kind of special formula stuff are you drinking? Yeah, right.
Who's got my special formula? My drink.
It looks like she's 19. Sorry.
No. I'll be 38 next month.
Wow, amazing.
You nailed this. You
Thank
did
you.
such an amazing job.
Oh man, thank you.
I think it's your humility. You're one of the most humble men I think I've ever come across.
You know what? I'll be honest. Like my goals today, I'm very goal oriented, and I wanted to make sure that one, everybody had a good time, but two, that people were in the right mind state to be receptive to the messages that were happening. And I think I accomplished my goals because it's like I made sure that the audience, as much as I could, that they were prepped and they were ready and they were willing to listen and hear all the different talks that we had today. And it's like, through everything, like through very, very minor technical difficulties, to maybe some people getting over nerves or whatever the scenario is, like we literally rose above everything, you know what I'm saying? And it's like, it was just amazing. The theme of Rise was awesome. And yeah, like I couldn't have asked for it to go any better. Shout out to Camille and Naki, who literally helped prep me for like the last couple months, and it's been amazing. Yeah.
So I read a couple of your posts on Instagram leading up, and I know this was really special for you. You'd been thinking about being involved in TED for a while. When you found out you got chosen, what was it like for you as the host?
I don't even know how to describe it, to be honest, because if I'm completely honest, like I was nowhere in the TEDx space like whatsoever. Like I wasn't expecting it at all. I was on the road, like we were on tour. for a show. And, you know, when I got the initial call from Naki, like, we spoke, you know, that initial call was like 45 minutes because just the amount of energy and the ideas and the different things that we were sharing. And, you know, I guess she was just trying to like dig deeper and see what resonated with me and where I related. And I think for me, like this year was perfect. I mean, besides the fact that it's our championship year, you know what I mean? Like, Toronto is in a really amazing place. The only thing though is that sometimes we're caught up in that utopia and we forget a lot of the real life happenings that are happening within our city and within our country. And I think today was a good balance. You know, today was not something that's gonna have you going home and feeling depressed. I think it was very informative, and I think people will leave here hopefully having more empathy for their fellow human.
Okay, one last question.
Yep.
How do you think you grew today? How do you think you evolved? How do you think you rose up? What's something you're taking away?
To continue my journey of rising above fear. Things like Joseph Palermo's talk when he was talking about AI, and that stuff scares the hell out of me. But I think it's cool in terms of he spoke about being solution oriented and how as a society we're kind of reactive to where we wait until there's a disaster and then we come up with the solutions. What I like was he was talking about proactivity when it comes to being solution oriented. And I think if you look at, you know, not just the AI space, but everything that we deal with, I think that's what we need to be more, is not just empathetic, like I said before, but also solution oriented, because that was relevant to his talk, but it was also relevant to Anthony Morgan's talk when he was talking about social justice. He was talking about being solution oriented, but he was also talking about aggressive investment in people. And I think that might be like one of the common threads throughout today, is learning how to invest in people and kind of understanding what are the things that, how we've been socialized, and I guess how we form our opinions as people, and maybe learning how to shift that and shift what our norm is. Because if there's one thing that, you know, Black Lives Matter, the Me Too movement, and other movements taught me, is that society's norms aren't necessarily the norms that we need to abide by. And I think, just, you know, really learning how to adapt to that shift, how to listen, how to be receptive, and then learning how to proceed together. It's the best way that we can literally, again, rise above all the obstacles. And I think that's probably how I evolved today and what I took from today.
Thank you for being such a tremendous leader. You are somebody who is definitely moving the needle, and I've been following you for a long time, so this has been such an honor. And you really did a great job.
Thank
so
you
thank
so
you,
much. I appreciate it.
Oh, you're so great.
Thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you.
All right.
We'll
Have
see
a
you at the
good
party.
one. Absolutely.
Okay, so up next, we have Camille. Oh my god. Oh my gosh, this is huge.
Okay, so introduce yourself for the folks at home who might not know who you are.
So my name is Camille Kimdis. I'm one of the 3 co-chairs of TEDx Toronto 2019 and also co-lead our curation and coaching team.
So I wanted him to introduce himself because that's a pretty big role. I didn't want to take that away from you. Okay, how are you feeling right now, first of all?
I can't believe it's over. It's, you know, you spend 10, 12 months planning for the day, and then in 8 hours, it's just finished. And you just feel like immensely grateful for the journey, and just kind of amazed that it's done so quickly.
Ah, Julian too! Hi! Hello! Congratulations!
Thank you.
All right, come on in, stand on this X. Let's make sure we do this right. Introduce yourself for the folks at home.
Hi there, I'm Jillian Cameron, and I'm one of the co-chairs of TEDx Toronto this year.
Okay. So, what is something that you were surprised about that happened today that you didn't anticipate? Something that was, wow, that happened, and it could have gone well, or maybe it didn't.
I'm going to go a little more tactical on this one. We ran an hour behind schedule.
Okay, a little more tactical. Do you have an answer for that as well that you want to share?
Absolutely. Cardi's rap to close the day. In our host notes, we extensively prepped Cardi. We had one little bullet, which was, bring the day together with your own words, and he decided to compose a rap. It was incredible.
Okay. So that is incredible. So the team this year, you guys are both new to the chair and to co-chairs, etc. Does this mean that you guys get to come back next year, or do you have to apply to do that again? Like, how does that work? So people understand a little bit more about that.
So I think once we come into this role, we're here. Yeah, so we're here. Both of us will be returning again next year as the co-chairs of TEDx Toronto, and we are excited to make next year even better than what we've built on this year.
Don?
Yeah, and I just add, it's an incredible volunteer effort. 3 co-chairs, 16 co-organizers, 60 volunteers, and another 80 event day volunteers. It really truly takes a village to put this on.
It definitely does take a village. My team is like 16 people. And last question is, of all the speakers, what is the message that you think resonated the most with people? Of all the speakers, what was the one that you thought, oh man, people are really going to take something away from this one?
I feel like I can only speak to mine personally, because as I was talking to everyone in the audience, I learned that every single person took away a different message from each different speaker. So for me, Cassandra's talk really spoke to me. It's something I didn't really have a lot of education on prior to today, and I feel like I can leave today and help spread her message.
Well, I helped lead the coaching and curation team, and it is impossible for me to choose a talk. I mean, I've heard all of them in rehearsals and prep in the weeks up, so I can't choose a talk. But like what sticks with me is, and what gets me so excited is when I see audience members just scribbling notes in their book, because it means the talks are connecting and making an impact. Because ultimately we hope that these talks are the start of something, and as a result of being here today, someone goes home and does something different tomorrow, something small, maybe something large, but makes a change.
Yeah. Well, I can definitely say that being here is very different from watching it on the broadcast or on YouTube, and it's thanks to you two for all the work that you did. I know us as well, but really appreciate it, and you guys really nailed this. So thank you.
Thank you.
Camille, Jillian,
thank you so much.
Beautiful.
And can we just say thank you for hosting our first ever live red carpet for TEDx Toronto? We so appreciate you, Catherine.
My pleasure. Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Well, that's a wrap. On behalf of myself, Catherine Ducey, our broadcast team, all the volunteers here at TEDx Toronto 2019, we thank you for joining us. We loved all your comments. We loved that you stood by us for the day, and we cannot wait to see you in 2020. Have a wonderful night.